Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Northern Ireland once again. This time we are going to Derry, or Londonderry, however you want to call it, and we're doing my first visit to Northbound Brewery, and this beer should be really quite interesting. This is the number 34 Oak Smoked, comes in at 4.7% ABV, and apparently it's kind of based on the German Grätze style. Of course, you've got the Polish Grodzicki style, which is fairly similar to it. So definitely looking forward to this one. As you know, if you've watched my channel before, I love smoked beers, and it's always cool to try beers from different places as well. You've probably heard me grumble on the channel a little bit about how difficult Irish beers can be to get. Both Northern Irish and beers from the Republic of Ireland can be really notorious to get, and that's annoying, especially in Scotland, when you consider how close they are. And I've heard good things about them as well. So like I say, always cool to try beers from new places, and I hope you guys watching over there enjoy the review, and hopefully this is the start of Irish beers starting to become more readily available. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Northbound Brewery. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of the beers from different countries, as well as the whiskey and sake reviews and other stuff that I do. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review, especially if you're watching over in Ireland. But your support and your input to the channel is always hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Northbound Brewery then. So Northbound Brewery are based in Eglinton in Derry in Northern Ireland, over in the kind of northwest of the country. But it's actually run by husband and wife team David and Martina Rogers. But the brewery was founded back in 2014, and it's based in an old shirt factory in the Campsie industrial estate. David is originally from Hamilton near Glasgow in Scotland, not too far away actually from my hometown Stirling in Scotland, and he became really interested in brewing and beers while he was working as an engineer over in Australia, because he found a lot of work working in breweries over there, and soon after that he started to find a lot of work in the drinks industry in Ireland, and he now holds a master brewer certificate which he gained from the Institute of Brewing and Distilling back in 2013. You have to do 5 years of work in a certified brewery for that actually, so it is quite a big achievement that he's got that. So apparently they name their beers after the colours or sometimes the IBUs that go into the beer. So this beer has 34 IBUs, and that's why it's called the 34 Oak Smoked. I did read somewhere in an article or something that some of the beers are named after the colours as well, but they use Irish grains in their beers. They source their first brew kit from England, and they do use local untreated water as well. So with this beer you are getting a good quality beer that has good local ingredients in it as well. I do like that when beers use their local malts. There are, or brewers use their own local malts, because there are some breweries in different places that they'll only use German malts or American malts or whatever, so I do like it. Some of the breweries here in Scotland do that, of course. They use Scottish malts. If there's Irish breweries that do Irish malts as well, then that's great. So it's always cool to try beers from different countries and then to try some of the local ingredients as well. So yeah, just to tell you the specs of this beer then. So like I mentioned to you, this one is a 4.7% smoked beer. They say that it's based on the Grätze style, which is of course similar to the Polish Grodzicki, and it says on the back here, Northbound is an award-winning brewery based in Ireland. The brewery was established by a master brewer and his family, and the family sourced the finest ingredients to create a handcrafted beer, each with their own unique flavour. This oak smoked beer is crafted to reflect the ancient oak groves once grown in the county. Inspired by the Grätze style, oak smoked wheat malt is used to give a subtle smoked flavour. Noble hops are added to give a clean, crisp hop bitterness, and 34 IBUs, hence the name. We hope you will enjoy this premium offering from the Northbound stable of beers. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one then before we open it up. But a nice little blurb on the back there. I do quite like the artwork on this one, and I would be curious to know in both Northern Ireland and the Republic how common it is that beers are given in the big half-litre bottles. Most breweries in Scotland actually, they do the little 330ml bottles. There you can see a plain bottle cap on this one. I have to admit, it would be cool if they did put their little symbol here. There you can see it, and it's just behind the actual 34 as well. You can see that. It would be cool if they put that on their bottle caps at some point. Maybe it's just because they're a fairly new brewery, they've not done that yet. There you can see Roger's signal on the back, or Roger's signature, sorry, on the back there, but really nicely presented. Northbound Brewery, 6 McLean Road, Derry, Londonderry, BT47 3XX. So yeah, should be a really nice beer. Let's get this guy open then, and we'll get on with the tasting. As you can see, nice smoky opening on this one there, and you can smell some of that nice smoky malt character on this one. It should be quite interesting to try this as well, because I'm not sure, the German beers, that obviously when it comes to smoked beers you think of like Spezial and Schlenkerla, of course, from Bamberg in Germany. The Bamberg Rauch malts, of course, are the quite famous ones, but if this one's using smoked wheat malt, that is a little bit different than what the Germans do, in fact, and you can tell that just from the colour of the beer. Actually, the German Rauch beers, of course, are a lot darker than this. So as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice, it's actually a kind of pale golden straw. You know, if you were just looking at this beer, it could actually just be one of these kind of New England style IPAs from the colour. I think it's fair to describe this beer as just a kind of quite kind of middle orange amber, this one. Actually leaning more towards the yellow side of things. There's a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head. And as I say, normally from a smoked beer you'd maybe expect a colour a little bit darker than this, but to be fair, when it comes to the Gretzer and the Grodziskie style of beer, this probably is about right. The head on this one, incidentally, is one finger. It is kind of foamy, but the bubbles in this look a little bit bigger. Maybe it's a little bit more bumpy, but there's a few bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. Look at the lacing in that as well. It's leaving it quite a little bit. So yeah, it looks very, very nice. As you can see, if I put my fingers behind the glass, there is a degree of transparency to this beer, but really it is quite opaque in colour. I think the camera's just coming out a little bit dark. Just move the light down and let you see the colour of that beer a little bit more. But we'll stick it back up there. So yeah, really nice looking beer, typical kind of Gretzer Grodziskie style, but you could be forgiven for maybe mistaking the colour as being that of an IPA or something. It looks very, very nice, so let's have a closer look at the aroma then. Oh yeah, now this reminds me of the Grodziskies that I had in Poland, actually. That's really nice. You know, it's a very interesting aroma, and it's a really quite unique one that you get from these Gretzer Grodziskie style beers. So with this one, yeah, you can smell a nice kind of white bready note underneath. You can smell the wheaty character coming out of the beer. It's almost got a little bit of that kind of almost clovey spice coming out of it, this one. It could even have just a little bit of the banana, which is quite interesting. You know, these sort of banana bubblegummy notes that you expect of a Hefeweizen. It's interesting because just smelling this beer, it actually does just smell like a Hefeweizen, but with a little bit of smoky character in it, which is really quite interesting. It does just smell like a kind of typical Hefeweizen with a wee bit of Rauch malt or something in it. Really nice smelling beer. So yeah, as I say, you've got that wheaty base to it. There's a little bit of the sort of banana notes coming out, some kind of clovey spice. You can smell the sort of noble hop character as well. You've got that nice sort of light grassiness and maybe even a little bit of citrusy character coming out as well. That sort of lemony citric note coming from this beer. And then you can smell the nice, it's definitely a meaty roast that's coming from this one rather than a sort of peaty roast. A lot of the Scottish smoked beers, of course, do tend to have a more peaty smoke character to them, but to me, yeah, this one to me definitely comes across as more of a meaty, a sort of roast porky kind of note on it, but really it does lean more towards the kind of wheat side of things than the smoky side. When you open the beer up, of course, just from the notes that start to escape the bottle, you really do get that note of smoky character from it. But overall, you know, it is a really quite nice smelling beer, this one. So just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of it. It's got some really kind of interesting depth to it as well, and especially since it's using Irish grains, you know, you are having a few interesting aspects to it. It's got a nice bready base, wheaty aspects, like I say, a little bit of the banana clove, the kind of typical notes you expect of the Weizen, and then the smoky character starts to come off of it a little bit later on. When you're further away from it like this, you can kind of smell more of the smokiness, but when you're closer into it, that's when it comes across as more of a wheat beer. So yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma. As I always say, that's half the experience when it comes to beer and whiskies and stuff like that. But let's get stuck into this one now. So this one is the 34 Oak Smoked from Northbound Brewery over in Derry in Northern Ireland. Slange. That's quite nice. Definitely different from the Gretzers and Grodziskies that I've had before, but it really is quite a nice beer, this one. The smoky character is definitely a little bit stronger than what I've had from the German variants before and the Polish variants too. But I tell you something, it works really, really well. You don't expect, when you try a beer from a different country, you don't expect it to be exactly the same, but they've pulled this one off quite nicely. It's got a lovely mouthfeel to it as well, actually. So, in the middle of your palate with this one, it's quite interesting. You can feel that wheaty character, that almost white breadiness. It just goes right across the middle of the palate there. But you can feel there's that little bit thicker, that kind of little bit of a thicker flavour that comes from the wheatiness there. And that's right in the middle of your tongue. There's a bit of a kind of toasty, grainy aspect to the beer as well. And you can feel just that little, almost slightly bitter character, that roasted bitterness there as you move further out into the middle of the tongue. Or you move out just towards the edges of the tongue, I should say. But this is really nice. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again, I'll say that straight away. But the malt base is really nice. There is maybe a little bit of a sort of, I'm getting a little bit of a biscuity, kind of caramelly sweetness coming out of this beer, right in the middle of my tongue. And that is quite nice actually. The noble hop character comes out very well of course as well. So in the back corners of the palate there's that little kind of smooth earthiness that you expect of like Hallertau, Tettnanger hops sort of thing. As you come further forward you can feel that just smoothing out, and then just as you get towards the front of the palate you get a little bit of a floral character to the beer. Then as you go round the front curve of your tongue, that's where you start to get a little bit of the lighter kind of grassy notes that you expect from the beer. I want to say there's a little tiny bit of a slightly citrusy character there mixing with the grassiness, but really this beer, the flavours in this beer just blend together really well. As I say, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I would love to try this one on tap, probably as a cask ale. I think this beer would be really good where you've just got the slightly thicker mouthfeel, and just to see how that malt base would come across. But the flavours in this one are top notch. I do think it could just benefit a little bit more with the kind of cask ale mouthfeel to it. But when it comes to a bottle conditioned beer, you are going to get a certain mouthfeel with it, but it still works very well for the beer. But this is really nice. As I say, it's got everything you kind of expect of the great Sir Grudzinski style, but it just comes across in a little bit of a different way. There's a little bit, I'm getting a little bit of, as the flavour starts to progress, I'm actually getting a little bit of a more peaty kind of malt flavour to this one, the sort of more peaty, smoky character. There's a little bit of the meatiness in there as well, but to me it's coming across as a bit more peaty as the flavour progresses. The things that are lingering in the aftertaste of this one for me, it's a little bit of the wheaty bread character, some of those kind of toasted grainy notes like I said, and that German noble hop character, the earthiness and the kind of light floral and grassy aspects. That's what's really lingering in this beer for me, and it works really nicely. This is actually quite a drinkable beer at 4.7% as well. It's kind of in the territory that you would expect from these German style beers. Of course, German beers tend to be really big flavours, but they can be fairly low in alcohol content in comparison to some of the things you're going to find from the American style beers and stuff. But this one, it's really nice. If you get the chance to try this beer, if you like your great Sir Grudzinski style beers, you will quite enjoy this one. And I do have to admit, it's interesting to find one that is a little bit more kind of peaty, smoky in flavour than one that's a bit more meaty, but it comes across very nicely. I think the beer starts to get a little bit more earthy as the flavour comes on, and that's the sort of peaty smoke character coming out from this one. And I guess maybe that is just a thing that comes from the Irish malts being used in the beer, because wherever you grow a malt grain, you are going to get little different aspects of it because of what minerals and stuff and what is actually in your soil. That's the thing with hops, malts and everything. You just have to be aware that it's environmental chemistry. That something I studied for quite a few years at uni, and it's quite interesting of course. But again, like I say, a really quite nice beer. I love the sort of peaty character that this one has. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, I would say it's quite light-bodied. Like I was saying, the mouthfeel of this one is a little bit different from what you'd expect of the German ones. This one has a wetter and a slightly more carbonated feel, but not overly carbonated, I should say. The carbonation just has a little bit of a prickle to it, and it gives the beer a little bit of a lighter feel to it. Maybe, as I say, that's due to the bottle and conditioning, but I think this beer, if they keep the flavour profile the same, it would be absolutely lovely as a cask beer, so I'd love to see them do that at some point. But you've got a good bit of smoothness from the malt, so you've got a little tiny bit of bitterness. There's that kind of toasty graininess to it there, but you've got the nice wheaty kind of bready characters, just giving your malt base the smoothness there. The smoky character is also quite smooth, and at some points it can be a little bit sweet, but then it moves into the earthiness that you expect of the peat flavours. The malt, the hoppy side of things, there's a little bit of dryness that progresses as you move into the flavour as well, or into the aftertaste, but just as you go around the palate, it does tend to be quite smooth. There's not a lot in the way of fruity character from this beer, but you wouldn't expect that from this beer style. Maybe just a tiny, tiny little bit of citrus that goes with these noble hops. But overall, it's quite a nice, drinkable beer, this one, and it is interesting to try something from a different country and to try a kind of established German beer style from a different country as well. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, I would recommend that you do it. If you like your kind of peaty whiskies, this could be an interesting beer for you to try. If you like smoke beers, again, it's an interesting one for you to try. If you like Hefeweizens, again, it's an interesting one. So if you're into this kind of style, if you know the Grodziskie and the Gretzer style, of course, then it would be a really interesting one for you to try. The difference in this one, like I say, is that it's peated smoke rather than a kind of meaty smoke as you'd expect of the mainland European varieties. But again, a really nice beer, and I would recommend that you try them. Apparently these guys have got a very nice Kulsch beer, so I will try and get a hold of that to review for you at some point. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed my take on the 34 Oak Smoked. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again anyway. But yeah, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know some other Northern Irish and Irish beers that I should be having a look at. Hopefully I can return to Northbound in the fairly near future. This one's a really nice kind of Gretzer Grodziskie style beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below, and I will catch you guys very soon. I'm sure we'll be able to do some more Northern Irish and Irish beers for you very, very soon. Slàinte just now.